Hello chess friends, this is Grandmaster Max Illingworth talking, and in today's video I'd just like to introduce to you this really exciting new YouTube channel that I've just started today. And I just want to share with you my vision and my purpose behind creating this channel. So for me, basically, my big dream in chess is to help others as much as possible to get stronger at chess and to achieve their big chess dreams, whether that's becoming world chess champion or something perhaps a little bit more modest in comparison. And what I'd like to do is, I'd like to share not just some nice puzzles such as the one that I'll show you today, but I'd also like to share with you my insights as a coach, as a grandmaster, as the current Australian chess champion for 2018. And I really hope that with my direction that you can become a stronger chess player and hopefully have a lot of fun with me in the meantime, sharing our love of chess together. So in this position it is black to move. If it were white to move, you would probably have already figured out that indeed Queen G7 would be a checkmate in this position. So if you haven't figured out the solution for black as to how black wins from this position, I'd suggest that you pause the video at this moment and decide on what you would play if you had this position in a tournament game. Now, at this point I'll show you the move that Hikmat Tirosyan, the very strong young Armenian grandmaster, played in this position. He was playing as black against another Armenian grandmaster, Tigran Petrosian. You should not confuse this Tigran Petrosian with the former world chess champion, the Armenian Tigran Petrosian. This one is a younger Tigran Petrosian, but also a very strong player, also a grandmaster in his own right. Anyway, let's get to the solution. So, obviously we have to do something about Queen G7 checkmate, right? But it's not so easy to do so because let's say we try to defend this G7 square in some way. Well, Queen F7 will get hit by Queen to H8 mate, so obviously that's not what we really want here. Also, if we play, for argument's sake, Rook to D7, well then white can also turn the tables on us with this very annoying skewer, Queen to H8 check. And if King F7, then if nothing else, white can take the Rook, Queen C8. And with white having an extra bishop, white would have a technically winning position here. So obviously we can't just settle for a defensive move. And here we might apply some training advice that I like to tell my students, which is when you see that your opponent has a really strong threat, what most people do is they automatically think, oh, I'm really needing to defend against this threat. If I don't defend this threat, well, they'll play their threat and, in this case, checkmate me or win material. But as it turns out, there's a really great question that we can ask before we make our move and automatically defend against their threat. So what we can do is basically we can ask the question, is their threat really so scary? Do we have a stronger threat of our own that we could play just ignoring their threat? And when you think like that, you start to see some really aggressive options compared to before. So we might start looking for the checks and for the captures and for moves that make a threat, because then the opponent sort of has to respond. For example, when we make a check, they can't just say, yeah, who cares, our king is in check, we'll mate you anyway. So in this position, the solution is Rook to H1, a really wonderful deflection idea. So if white does take that rook, we can now play C1 equals queen, and you might notice that white can't play Queen G7 mate anymore because the king is in check. Not only that, but we're also forking the queen on H6 here. So after queen takes C1, we would simply be a queen for a bishop up, and I know that you would be able to beat me from this position if you were playing black. So rather than allowing this trade of the queens, which by the way is a very good way to defend when your king is coming under an attack, white tried this other move if king to g3 in this position. And it's a nice try to ignore the rook and say, well, my king is perfectly safe, where you can't take your own pawn and give checkmate in this fashion. But here there's a really nice tactic for black that actually just wins the game. In fact, white resigned after black's next move. So if you don't see the move yet, pause the video and see if you found the right answer. Okay, welcome back. And the move for black here is rook to h3, a really wonderful move. And it's pretty easy for us to calculate once we see rook h3, because everything comes with a check and the opponent's options are very limited. You know, there's this the question I often get asked by inexperienced chess players: how many moves can you see ahead, Grandmaster? And what I tell them is that it doesn't really matter how many moves you can see ahead, but how well you can see what's right in front of you. For example, I could rattle off some 20 move variation with queen d3 check quite easily, but it's not really very relevant when rook h3 is just winning for black. So after rook h3, pawn takes h3. So now we can play queen to f3 check, as the white pawn is no longer covering it. We managed to deflect the pawn away. And after king to h2, okay, white's threatening mate, so we may as well keep checking them. Queen takes h3, king g1, and okay, how many moves is it until black checkmates from here? Okay, it's 3 moves. So queen to c1, white has to take it, queen takes c1, and after rook takes c1, then we mate on the next move. Rook to e1, and then rook takes e1 is checkmate. So that was a fairly simple puzzle, but actually a very useful one for teaching us about the theme of decoy or deflection. And if you're not sure what a deflection is, it's basically when we lure an opponent's piece to a square, to a worse square, so that we can then exploit, for example, a square left behind, or the fact that we might be able to play some move with check that we couldn't before, where we can see, you know, how rook h1 back in this position was a great example of deflecting the king in order to be able to queen with check and thus have a decisive material advantage. So yeah, please let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. I'm always open to hear your feedback and any suggestions or improvements to make these videos even better. And I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to this channel. I'm hoping it can really grow into something great and wonderful, with the support of the chess community and all you wonderful guys out there. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. And yeah, have a very nice day. See ya.